Hi everyone, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. I'm really happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to go on a calm and quiet trip to learn something amazing. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's enjoy this peaceful science story together. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you like relaxing science videos, don't forget to tap the like button. Now let's begin.
Light is everywhere, yet we never see light itself. What we see are the colors our minds create from invisible signals. Imagine a beam of sunlight breaking through a window. It is not filled with reds, blues, or greens. It is a stream of energy, rippling as tiny waves. These waves carry different lengths, some long and lazy, others short and sharp. Our eyes catch only a narrow slice of them, and from this small window of perception, our brains weave the entire world of color. Outside of this window, there are waves too long to notice, like the deep hum of infrared, and waves too quick to follow, like ultraviolet. They exist all around us, but we remain blind to them, living inside the illusion our senses allow. When light enters your eye, it falls onto the retina, a thin sheet of living tissue no thicker than paper. There millions of tiny cells, called cones, awaken. Some are tuned to long waves, which we call red. Others catch middle waves, the greens, and some prefer the short, sharp ones, the blues. Alone, each cell sees nothing more than brightness, but together, in shifting patterns of activation, they whisper a secret code to the brain. From this code, the brain paints a world of color that never existed outside of you. Redness does not live in the apple. The apple reflects certain waves, yes, but the experience of red lives only in the quiet theater of your mind. Now imagine walking in a forest at dusk. The world grows dim and the cones fall silent. Another kind of cell, the rods, takes over. They are more sensitive to faint light, but they cannot speak in color. They give only shades of gray, the silvery blur of night vision. The emerald leaves and crimson berries vanish, replaced by a monochrome dream. In this moment, you are reminded color is not out there in the trees. It is inside you, dependent on fragile cells and the stories your neurons tell. Some creatures tell different stories. Bees dance in ultraviolet, seeing patterns painted on flowers we cannot even imagine. Snakes feel the world through heat vision, detecting the warmth of prey glowing in the dark. Birds carry 4 kinds of cones, not 3, and can see colors beyond the edge of our imagination. Their rainbows are broader, their skies more alive. We, with our 3 cones, live inside a narrower illusion, yet within it we find beauty. We call sunsets orange and oceans blue, unaware that these names are shadows of something larger, hidden from our view. The brain does not merely receive color, it invents it. Take the case of afterimages. Stare at a bright red circle for a long time, then look away at a white wall. Suddenly, a ghostly green circle appears. The wall has no green, yet your brain, tired from the flood of red, creates the opposite shade. This phantom color proves the truth. Perception is an act of creation. The eyes provide signals, but the brain decides what to see. Consider also the blind spot, a hole in your vision where the optic nerve exits the eye. You never notice it because the brain fills it in with surrounding color and pattern. Reality does not arrive to you whole. It is stitched together by countless quiet guesses. Most of the time, these guesses go unnoticed. Sometimes, in illusions or tricks of light, you catch a glimpse of the stitching and realize that what you see is not the world, but a story about the world. Color carries emotion as well as form. The red of fire feels warm and urgent. The blue of twilight feels calm and deep. These feelings are not written in the waves themselves, but in the brain that interprets them. Cultures, too, weave their own meanings. In some places, white is the color of mourning, in others, red. The physics of light remains the same, but the poetry of perception changes, shaped by memory, language, and history. In this way, color is not only a private illusion, but also a shared dream. Think of the painter at work. With simple pigments, they call forth the illusion of sunlight on a canvas, or the depth of a shadow, or the brilliance of a sky. The canvas does not glow, yet our minds see light. We step into the painted world, forgetting the trick. Our perception is so hungry for color, so eager to invent, that it completes the illusion without hesitation. The brush stroke becomes a leaf, the smear of blue becomes an ocean, and we are carried into the scene. Now let your mind drift further to the thought of a world without color. Imagine everything in gray, every sunrise and every flower drained of its hues. The world would remain, but something essential would be lost. Not because color is a property of the world, but because it is a song we have learned to sing within our minds. Without it, the melody of life would be quieter, thinner. Color is the brain's gift, a secret invention, a soft veil laid over the fabric of reality. As you close your eyes, the colors remain in memory, glowing softly behind your eyelids. You can still see the red of a rose, the blue of the see the green of a spring leaf, though no light enters your eyes. Memory proves again what is true. Color is not in the world, but in you. It is an illusion, yes, but a beautiful one, shaping the way you walk through your days, shaping the way you feel, shaping the stories you tell yourself about what is real. And so every moment you open your eyes, you are not discovering color. You are creating it. You are weaving invisible energy into a visible dream. The universe sends only waves, and your brain answers with rainbows. The colors that never will become the colors you live in, gentle illusions that paint your life with meaning. The world outside is vast and unseen, but the world inside you is alive with light, alive with the hues of an imagined reality. Let us drift deeper into the story of color and the way your mind transforms the unseen into the visible. Think for a moment about the sunlight touching the ocean. The waves scatter, bend, and dive into the water, and some of them return to your eyes. But the ocean is not truly blue. It is water, reflecting and absorbing, scattering shorter waves more than longer ones. The blue you see is your brain's response to the physics of scattering. The ocean does not carry blueness like an object carries weight. Instead, your brain translates invisible interactions into a visible dream. And so the sea becomes blue, though in truth it is simply water, colorless and clear. This quiet translation happens everywhere all the time. A ripe strawberry reflects certain wavelengths, but redness does not live inside its skin. The fruit could just as easily be described in terms of chemistry, molecules, and light absorption. Yet your mind assigns it a warm glow, a sweet brightness that feels alive. If you pluck that strawberry and taste it, another illusion is added. The flavor is a dance between your tongue and your nose, molecules binding and signals firing. Just as with color, the brain invents taste from scattered signals. Reality is never raw, it is always woven. Now imagine walking through a meadow dotted with flowers. A daisy shines yellow, a violet glows purple, a poppy burns red. These colors are signals meant not for you but for pollinators. Bees follow ultraviolet patterns painted on petals, invisible signs pointing the way to nectar. To the bee, the daisy may appear striped with glowing lines, while to you it appears simply golden. Both views are illusions, crafted by two very different nervous systems. There is no single true daisy. There is only the daisy as seen by you, and the daisy as seen by the bee, both shaped by biology, both equally real and equally invented. Think of the rainbow after rain. The arc seems to hang in the sky, yet there is no rainbow out there, suspended in the air. What exists are raindrops bending light in countless directions. The rainbow appears only when your eyes stand in a certain place and your brain gathers the bent light into a coherent arc. Each person sees their own rainbow from their own angle. Stand beside another, and you will both agree that there is a rainbow in the sky. Yet each of you is seeing a different one, shaped by your own position, your own vision, your own mind. The rainbow is not in the sky. It is in the encounter between light and perception. In the same way, illusions crafted by artists remind us of the brain's role in shaping reality. Consider a simple checkerboard shadow illusion, where two squares, one in light and one in shadow, appear to be different shades of gray. In truth, they are identical, but the brain corrects for shadow, inventing a difference that does not exist. Or the shimmering patterns of an opal, where colors change as you tilt the stone. The stone itself is full of tiny structures scattering light, but the shifting hues are your brain's story, mapping angles and waves into fleeting jewels of color. These illusions are not errors. They are the very fabric of how vision works, a guessing machine, endlessly stitching waves into meaning. Even language shapes the colors you see. In some cultures, there is no separate word for blue and green. Both are folded into one category, a single spectrum of meaning. Studies show that speakers of such languages may find it harder to distinguish between certain shades we call blue and green, while they may notice distinctions that others overlook. The brain's perception is pliable, shaped by words and culture, by the categories we carry in memory. So even the rainbow in your mind is not fixed. It is painted by biology and repainted by language. In darkness, color disappears, yet in dreams it returns. When you sleep, your eyes are closed, yet your brain still invents color. You may dream of a red dress or a golden field, though no light falls on your retina. The brain holds the palette and it paints without need of waves. This dream painting is a reminder. Color is not bound to the outside world. It belongs to the theater of the mind. Awake or asleep, it is always invention, shimmering quietly within. As you move through life, color carries memory with it. The pale yellow of a childhood bedroom, the deep green of a forest walk, the soft gray of a rainy afternoon. Each shade becomes tied to time and place, braided with emotion. Neuroscientists suggest that when we recall a scene, the brain reactivates some of the same circuits used in perception. In a sense, to remember a color is to see it again. Memory and vision entwine, both illusions layered upon each other, yet both deeply felt as real. The brain's illusions do more than paint beauty, they protect you. Imagine a world where you saw every wavelength, from gamma rays to radio waves, flooding your senses at once. The chaos would be unbearable, a blur of signals. Instead, your brain selects a narrow band, translating it into colors that guide you gently through life. The softness of green tells you where plants grow. The ripeness of red tells you when fruit is ready. These illusions help you survive. They are the filter through which you navigate the vast, invisible ocean of energy that surrounds you. Sometimes the brain's colors falter. In synesthesia, some people see sounds as colors or letters glowing with hues. To them, music may be painted in blues and golds, words shimmering in reds and greens. Though unusual, synesthesia is another reminder that color is an invention of the brain, pliable, reassignable, woven into experiences in ways most of us cannot imagine. It shows that color is not fixed in the world, but a creative act, endlessly remixed by the mind. And so, as you sit with the thought of color, you can almost feel the strangeness of it. Waves of light, silent and invisible, are given texture and meaning by your brain. Out of emptiness, a spectrum blooms. Out of physics, a rainbow is born. Out of molecules and reflections, a strawberry glows red, a sky glows blue, a forest glows green. None of these colors are out there. They are within, alive only in perception, and yet they feel more real than almost anything else. They guide your emotions, stir your memories, and color your very sense of self. Let yourself rest with this thought. The world you see is not the world as it is. It is the world as you create it. The colors that never were are the colors you live by. They are illusions, yes, but gentle ones, woven by evolution to bring beauty and survival, to paint reality in tones your heart can recognize. The light outside remains waves and particles, but the world inside glows with rainbows. And in those rainbows, you find the meaning of life, as though reality itself were a canvas painted softly by your mind. Now imagine standing at the edge of a desert, the sun heavy in the sky. The sand shimmers with heat, and on the horizon you think you see water. It ripples, inviting, a mirage promising relief. Yet as you walk closer, the water vanishes, dissolving back into dry air. The illusion was not a trick of your eyes alone, but of your brain translating bent light into the story of a lake. Once again, you learn that sight is not about truth, but about interpretation. The desert holds no pool, but your mind, seeking meaning, invented one. This is the dance of reality, what is there and what your brain makes of it. We live each day inside such mirages, though most are invisible to us. The red of an apple, the blue of a sky, the green of a leaf, each is a constant invention, an internal guess about external waves. You walk through a painted world, yet the brush lies not in nature but in your neurons. The illusion is so complete that you rarely question it. Only in moments of strangeness, when an afterimage lingers on a wall, or when colors fade at twilight, do you glimpse the edges of the trick. It is like peeking behind the curtain of a stage, where the machinery of the play is revealed. The world does not appear as it is. It appears as your mind insists it must. Think of a prism on a windowsill. Sunlight strikes it and a rainbow spills across the floor. A child sees magic, a scientist sees refraction, and the brain sees color. Yet none of these are wrong, they are layers of story. The prism itself does not contain colors, it bends light, separating waves by length. The brain, receiving them, paints each with a hue, a name, a feeling. The rainbow is both physics and poetry, a bridge between matter and mind. Without the brain, there would be no red, no violet, no arc of light, only waves, silent and endless. It is the brain that turns silence into song. This truth reaches beyond color. Every sense is an invention, every perception a construction. Sound is air vibrating, yet you hear it as a melody, a voice, a whisper. Touch is pressure and vibration, yet you feel it as warmth, softness, comfort. Smell is molecules drifting, yet you know it as memory, as the scent of pine or bread or rain. All the senses work together to weave an illusion of a world outside you, And in fact, the world you live in exists only inside. Neurons fire, patterns emerge, and out of them comes the theater of reality. Scientists sometimes describe the brain as a prediction machine. It does not passively wait for signals. It guesses what should be there, then checks against incoming light, sound, and touch. Most of the time, the guess is correct and you see a stable world, but sometimes the guess leads you astray. Illusions reveal this hidden process, showing how the brain fills gaps, invents detail, and paints over the blind spots. Even when the signals are missing, the brain completes the picture. It is not lying, it is helping. To survive, you must act quickly, and to act, you must believe the world is solid and clear. The illusion is a gift, a shield against chaos. Now let your mind drift back to the stars. When you look at the night sky, the twinkling lights seem close, scattered like gems on velvet. In truth, many are suns far beyond imagination, some so distant their light began its journey before humans walked the earth. Yet the brain compresses this vastness into a ceiling you can hold in your gaze. The stars are illusions too, not because they are not real, but because your mind shrinks their enormity into something your heart can bear. The night sky becomes a dome, the Milky Way a river, the moon a companion. The reality is too vast, too cold. The illusion makes it intimate, gentle, and human. Color carries the same intimacy. A mother remembers her child's bright yellow blanket. An artist spends hours blending pigments to capture the lavender haze of evening. A poet writes of the green of spring and the red of passion. These are not accidents of physics. They are creations of perception, illusions that reach into feeling. Without them, life would be stripped bare, functional, but joyless. With them, the world becomes alive, not just in body, but in soul. The brain invents, but in inventing, it gives you a life that feels worth living. There are times when the illusion fractures. For those with color blindness, some shades blur together, distinctions vanish. The world is no less rich, but it is painted with a different palette. For those who lose vision, memories of color may linger even as new colors fade. Yet even in these cases, the brain adapts, weaving other senses into new illusions, new realities. The invention never stops, it only shifts. Reality, as you know it, is always under construction. And so we return to the heart of the matter, the colors that never were. They are not lies, but translations. They are the language your brain uses to speak with the world. The universe does not glow red, green, or blue. It vibrates, it ripples, it reflects and bends. Your brain takes these signals and writes a poem of color upon them. It is a poem you live inside, a poem you can never step outside of. To see is not to open a window onto the world, but to open a window onto your own mind. As you close this reflection, imagine the next time you see a rainbow. Pause for a moment and remember, there is no rainbow in the sky, only in you. The colors arc across your perception, born of light and invention. And yet they are real in the only way that matters. They are real to you. The illusion is your world, the invention is your truth, and in that gentle truth there is beauty. For what is life if not a dream painted in the colors of the mind? Inside your head there is no sound. Neurons fire in silence, exchanging tiny electrical sparks, yet from this quiet machinery emerges the whole orchestra of your life. The laughter of a friend, the rustle of leaves, the whisper of wind, the rhythm of your own heartbeat. None of these truly exist as sound outside of you. They are vibrations, movements of air. What you hear is not the world itself, but your brain's translation, its symphony woven from silent waves. You are a listener to a concert that exists only within. Imagine standing in a forest at dawn. Birds stir, their calls piercing the cool air. A brook tumbles gently over stones, and far above, branches creak with the weight of morning wind. All of this is vibration, molecules of air colliding, pushing, pulling, creating patterns of pressure. These vibrations reach your ears where delicate structures await. The outer ear funnels them inward, guiding them like a river into a hidden cave. There the eardrum trembles, responding to the air's invisible dance. The middle ear bones, 3 tiny levers called the hammer, anvil, and stirrup, magnify these tremors and pass them deeper still. Within the cochlea, a spiral filled with fluid, the vibrations are transformed into ripples, and the ripples set hair-like cells swaying. Each tiny sway becomes an electrical spark, and those sparks rush to the brain. Not one of them is sound. They are signals, silent, coded. It is only when they reach your mind that the music begins. Your brain does not play this music passively. It selects, organizes, and apes what you hear. In a crowded room, you can focus on one voice while ignoring 100 others. This is not because the others vanish. Their vibrations still reach your ears, but your brain in its symphony lowers their volume, highlighting the melody you have chosen. The cocktail party effect, scientists call it. You become the conductor, pointing toward a single instrument in the noise, and the orchestra shifts to follow. Now consider the way sound carries memory. The cry of a newborn, the echo of church bells, the tune of a childhood lullaby. These are not just waves, they are stories embedded in perception. When a song you once loved begins to play, your brain does more than decode vibration. It lights up regions tied to memory, emotion, and movement. Suddenly you feel the summer air of years ago or the warmth of a familiar face. Sound becomes time travel, carrying you backward and forward within the quiet of your mind. Even silence carries meaning. When the sound fades, when the world grows still, your brain listens for absence. In the pause between notes of music, you feel anticipation. In the hush after thunder, you sense calm. Silence itself is not an absence, but a presence, a frame that shapes what comes before and after. Your brain weaves silence into the symphony, giving it depth and rhythm. Without it, sound would be flat, endless, overwhelming. With it, the orchestra breathes. Animals, too, live within their own symphonies. A bat hears in echoes, mapping the world through sonar, its brain turning reflections into a picture of insects and branches. Dolphins send clicks into the water and listen to the shapes that return. Elephants rumble in infrasound, vibrations too deep for us to hear, yet strong enough to travel miles through the ground. Each species hears differently, inventing a private world from the same physical waves. For humans, the range of hearing is a narrow window, and within it, we imagine that sound is real. But like color, it is invention, a private illusion born of biology. Think of music itself, a creation of minds weaving vibration into meaning. A string vibrates, a drumskin shakes, and from these movements we hear rhythm and harmony. Yet no chord exists in the air. It exists only in your brain, where multiple signals converge, are processed, and given emotional shape. A minor key feels sad, a major key feels bright, though both are only patterns of frequency. We live in the illusion that music floats around us when in truth it blooms inside. The silent sparks of neurons become the echo of a violin, the depth of a cello, the swell of voices singing together. Out of silence, the brain creates song. There are times when the illusion falters. Ringing in the ears, called tinnitus, is the brain creating sound where none exists. Damage to the delicate hair cells or shifts in neural circuits leave silence intolerable, and the brain fills it with phantom tones. For some, these tones are soft and ignorable, for others, overwhelming. It is a reminder that hearing, like vision, is an act of invention, vulnerable to error. The orchestra can play notes that the world never sent, and yet they feel real, lived, undeniable. The brain even plays tricks with time. When a sound arrives just before another, the brain may merge them or adjust them to preserve rhythm and flow. Echoes are suppressed so that voices remain clear. Delays between ears are transformed into direction, telling you whether a sound came from the left or right. Your mind bends time and space, stitching vibrations into a coherent soundscape. Without this constant editing, the world would be chaos. Instead, it becomes a stage, full of voices and echoes arranged just so. Now let yourself rest in this thought. Every word you have ever heard, every note of music, every whisper of wind was created within you. The universe outside knows only motion and vibration. Your brain gives it meaning, translating silence into sound, weaving physics into feeling. You live within the silent symphony of the brain, a concert hall with no instruments, only patterns of sparks. And yet from those sparks comes the laughter of loved ones, the chorus of birds, the rise and fall of song. The illusion is not deception. It is a gift, a way of turning the emptiness of air into the fullness of life. Let us drift more deeply into the world of sound, into the way your brain sculpts the invisible into melody and meaning. Imagine the moment rain begins to fall, the first droplets tapping leaves and rooftops. Each drop is only a vibration, a shift of air. Yet as they multiply, your brain shapes them into rhythm, a gentle percussion against the stillness. Before long, it feels like a song, nature's own lullaby, born of random drops but organized by your mind into something whole. This is what your brain does ceaselessly. It gathers chaos and creates coherence. The rain has no rhythm of its own. The rhythm exists only in the listener. Think of age. Our voices work. The vocal cords vibrate, sending waves of air outward. But what you hear as words is far more than vibration. The brain takes subtle shifts in pitch and timing and transforms them into syllables, language, meaning. If you listen closely, you can feel how delicate this process is. A slight change in frequency can turn one sound into another, and across cultures, brains learn to sort sounds into entirely different categories. Where one language hears two distinct tones, another hears only one. The illusion of speech depends on the brain's training, its long practice in turning waves into symbols, symbols into thought. The sound you hear when someone speaks is not floating in the air. It is blooming inside your mind. Music stretches this illusion into art. A drumbeat becomes a heartbeat echoed back. A flute imitates the wind, yet shaped into a controlled flow. A choir fills a cathedral, voices rising and merging until they feel larger than life itself. The experience of harmony, of rhythm, of emotional resonance, none of these exist in the vibrations alone. They are creations of your brain, sensitive to patterns, tuned to predict and resolve tension. When a melody climbs upward and finally resolves, you feel relief. When chords clash, you feel unease. The brain translates vibration into emotion, weaving frequencies into feelings. A song becomes not just sound, but memory, movement, and meaning. Consider the way music connects to your body. Neuroscientists have found that when you listen to rhythm, motor regions of your brain activate as though you were moving. This is why you tap your foot without noticing or sway gently with a song. The brain does not separate hearing from acting. Instead, sound becomes a call to motion, a gentle pulse echoing in your muscles. Even in silence, when you imagine a melody, those same circuits stir. Your body remembers, your neurons hum. The silent symphony plays on. Now picture sound in dreams. As you sleep, the world grows quiet, but inside, the brain invents its own acoustics. You may hear voices or distant music or the sound of running water. None of these vibrations reach your ears. They are conjured wholly within. Like color in dreams, dream sound proves again that perception is not a window but a creation. The brain carries instruments within, and it plays them whether or not the world outside contributes. In this way, your nights are as sonorous as your days, filled with the echoes of your mind's invention. Sound also teaches you about space. Close your eyes and listen to a bird call in the distance. You know without seeing whether it is above you, behind you, or far away. This is because your brain measures tiny differences, the time a sound reaches one ear versus the other, the way it reflects off walls and trees. From these cues, it builds a three-dimensional world. The sound is not simply heard, it is placed, it is given location and depth. Out of air, the brain creates architecture, a map of your surroundings drawn in vibration. Even without sight, you move confidently because of this acoustic map, the silent scaffolding of sound. Yet for all its wonder, the brain's illusions of sound are fragile. A loud noise can damage the hair cells of the cochlea, leaving silence where music once lived. As hearing fades, people may begin to perceive phantom sounds, melodies without source. This is the brain's attempt to fill the gap, to continue the symphony even when the instruments are gone. Some find this haunting, others strangely comforting. It is proof that the brain refuses emptiness. It will always invent, always fill, always continue the song. Sound has a power that goes beyond perception. It can heal, soothe, or wound. A lullaby calms a restless child, its gentle rhythm resonating with the heartbeat. A sudden bang can trigger fear, your body leaping into action before thought arrives. Chanting, drumming, humming, these sounds sink into the nervous system, slowing breathing, lowering heart rate. The brain is not just decoding vibration. It is aligning with it, letting sound steer the body's rhythms. The silent sparks of neurons are moved by waves of air, and in turn they move you. Now think again of the silence between notes. Music without silence would be unending noise, unbearable. It is the spaces that give shape, the pauses that make the return of sound meaningful. Your brain waits in those spaces, holding expectation. When the note finally arrives, you feel satisfaction, a gentle resolution. Silence becomes a kind of sound, a presence made of absence. Life, too, moves in this way, moments of fullness, moments of pause, each giving meaning to the other. The silent symphony of the brain is not only about hearing, it is about rhythm, the balance of sound and stillness, energy and rest. As you wander through the world, every sound you hear is filtered by memory and expectation. You may walk along a street, and the faint ring of a bicycle bell. L makes you step aside before you even think. You may hear the clink of glasses and feel warmth, recalling gatherings with loved ones. You may hear the distant thunder and feel awe or unease. These reactions are not in the sounds themselves, but in the meanings your brain has stitched into them. Every sound is a thread woven into the fabric of your life's story. So the next time you listen to a song, to rain, to the voice of someone dear, remember that what you hear is not air in motion, but your brain's quiet invention. The world outside is silent, yet within you it sings. The symphony is yours, composed anew each moment, delicate and endless. And in that gentle illusion you find not only hearing, but belonging. For the silent sparks of neurons become the chorus of your days, the lullabies of your nights, the music of your life. Now let us follow the sound to its quiet conclusion and watch how the illusion settles into meaning. Picture yourself by the ocean at dusk. The waves roll in one after another, crashing softly against the shore. Each crash is different, yet your brain hears them as steady, familiar, timeless. You close your eyes and the pattern becomes music, a rhythm that rocks you gently. But in truth, the ocean is chaos, currents colliding, winds shifting, water tumbling unpredictably. The steadiness you hear is your mind smoothing the noise into order, turning disorder into comfort. The sea becomes a lullaby, though it never meant to be one. The brain does this with every sound, softening some, amplifying others, always searching for harmony. The low hum of a refrigerator fades into the background so you do not drown in its constancy. The cry of a baby cuts sharply through the night, refusing to be ignored. The ticking of a clock may vanish when you focus on reading, then suddenly reappear when silence grows heavy. These shifts are not in the sounds, but in the conductor inside you. Your brain adjusts the orchestra endlessly, sculpting the atmosphere of your world. Consider how memory reshapes what you hear. A song played at a wedding may sound brighter years later, carrying the glow of that moment. A phrase spoken by someone gone may return as an echo in your mind, more haunting than it ever was allowed. Even silence carries memory. The silence left in a house after laughter departs is not emptiness, it is presence turned into absence. Your brain gives meaning not only to sounds but to their loss, and in this way, the silent symphony deepens, carrying both joy and sorrow in equal measure. Time itself feels different through sound. A long silence stretches minutes into hours, while a song can make hours slip by like minutes. Neuroscientists suggest that the brain uses rhythm as a kind of clock, measuring intervals with beats and pauses. This is why chanting or drumming can alter your sense of time, pulling you into trance where minutes blur into eternity. Sound bends the flow of time, not because the world changes, but because your perception does. The silent sparks of neurons play tricks, slowing and quickening life's tempo. The illusion of sound also binds us together. A crowd chanting in unison, a choir raising their voices, a family sharing laughter. These are not just individual experiences. They are shared constructions. Each brain takes in the vibrations, translates them into perception, and yet somehow the illusions align. You and I may both hear the same melody, and though the experience blooms privately in each of us, we feel united. Sound is one of the bridges between minds, a way the brain's private inventions become collective dreams. Technology has deepened this illusion, carrying sound farther than ever before. A recording captures vibrations and allows the brain to replay them later, even centuries later. We can hear the voices of people long gone, their words reborn in our minds. The invention of the phonograph, the radio, the digital file each extends the reach of the silent symphony. Yet even here the truth holds, no sound leaves the speaker. It is still vibration, waiting for your brain to interpret. The voices of the past exist only when your mind completes them, turning coded signals into presence. Even in solitude, the symphony continues. You hum to yourself and the vibration resonates in your chest, grounding you. You imagine music and your brain obliges, playing silent songs only you can hear. These private concerts remind you that the illusion does not depend on the world outside. It depends only on you. Your neurons are the orchestra, your mind the hall, your life the unfolding score. Sometimes when illness or age dims hearing, silence grows where sound once lived. And yet the brain often fills those gaps with memory, with echoes, with phantom tones. In these moments you realize the deep truth. Sound has never been about the world outside. It has always been about the world within. The silent symphony is not lost, even when the ears grow quiet, it see. Entenus sustained by memory, imagination, and the restless creativity of the brain. Now let yourself rest again with the thought of the rain, each drop falling, each ripple echoing, each pattern caught and reshaped by your mind. There is no melody in the sky, and yet you hear one. There is no orchestra in the air, and yet you live within music. The illusion is total, and it is beautiful, for in that illusion you are comforted, connected, carried. The brain does not give you truth, but it gives you something gentler, something more human, a world that sings. And so the silent symphony plays on, day after day, in every voice and every breath of wind. It is not deception, but wonder, the power of the mind to create meaning from vibration, to weave silence into song. Close your eyes, listen closely, and you will hear it. The orchestra is always there, waiting for you, inside you. The music of the world is the music of your brain, and it will never stop, not until the final silence comes. Until then, the concert continues endlessly, beautifully within. Time feels so familiar that we rarely question it. A second passes, then another, and we believe the flow is steady and absolute. Yet when you look more closely, you find that time is not something you touch, not something you see. It is something your brain builds moment by moment, a mirror polished inside your mind. The ticking of a clock is not time itself, it is sound shaped into rhythm, a cue for your perception. The rising sun, the falling leaves, the aging of the body, these are changes in the world. Time is the story your brain tells to connect them. Without that story, there would be only scattered events floating in silence. It is your mind that strings them together, weaving the illusion of a flowing river. Imagine sitting at a quiet table with a candle burning slowly. The flame flickers, wax melts, shadows drift across the walls. You know that minutes are passing, yet what you feel is not the candle's truth. The candle is simply changing, molecule by molecule. Your brain measures these changes and creates the sense of passage. Sometimes the flame seems to linger, the moment stretched and soft. Other times, hours vanish in what feels like a breath. Time does not keep the same pace for you. It bends depending on memory, attention, and emotion. The same clock ticks on, but the mirror inside you reflects a different rhythm. Memory is the heart of this mirror. Without memory, there is no past, no thread to hold moments together. Think of the way you recall a morning walk, the smell of damp earth, the sight of dew, the sound of birds overhead. These fragments are stored and later retrieved, giving shape to what you call yesterday. Without them, you would live only in the present instant, floating without anchor. The brain's ability to store and reassemble fragments of experience is what creates your personal time. In this way, time is not only measured by clocks, it is painted by recollection, a collage of sensation and story. Emotion bends the mirror too. When you wait anxiously, seconds stretch and ache. When you laugh with a friend, hours dissolve unnoticed. Neuroscientists suggest that the brain's chemical rhythms, dopamine, serotonin, adrenaline, change how quickly you mark intervals. In fear, the heart races and the mind records more detail, making the moment feel longer. In joy, the mind relaxes, recording less, letting time slip by quickly. The river of time is not outside you. It flows differently within, guided by the tides of feeling. Children live in a different rhythm of time than adults. For them, a year feels immense, full of new discoveries. For adults, years pass swiftly, each one echoing the last. Some believe this is because novelty slows perception. When the world is fresh, the brain records more detail, stretching moments wide. As life becomes routine, fewer details are stored and time feels compressed. Thus, the same year can feel endless or fleeting, depending on the richness of memory. Time is not constant, but elastic, shaped by experience. The brain also looks ahead, polishing the mirror with imagination. You think not only of the past, but of the future, tomorrow's tasks, next year's hopes, the shape of a life yet to come. This ability to project forward is called mental time travel. It is what allows you to plan, to hope, to dream. No other animal, as far as we know, constructs such detailed futures. The same circuits that recall memory are used to imagine what might be, weaving past and future into one flowing thread. You live not just in the present, but in reflections stretching both ways. Sometimes the mirror fractures. In amnesia, the past dissolves, and with it, the sense of self weakens. Without memory, the present cannot connect to what came before, and time feels fragmented. In certain illnesses, moments repeat endlessly as though stuck in a loop. Some people experience déjà vu, where the present feels Lee. Key memory, though it has only just begun. Others experience jamais vu, where the familiar suddenly feels new. These oddities reveal that time is fragile, a construction that can falter. The flow you trust is always at risk of distortion. Yet even when fractured, the brain persists in building time. Consider how it measures rhythm in music. A song unfolds note by note, but your brain anticipates the beat, predicting what comes next. If a beat is delayed, you feel it instantly. If it is early, you stumble. Music works only because your brain is a timekeeper, aligning expectation with arrival. The same is true of speech. You follow words at a steady pace, predicting pauses and tones. The brain listens not only to what is, but to what is about to be. Time, in this sense, is prediction, a mirror polished by expectation as much as memory. Now imagine looking at yourself in a mirror, your reflection gazing back. That reflection seems immediate, yet it is delayed by tiny fractions of a second. Every perception you have is like that reflection, arriving slightly late, polished into coherence before reaching awareness. You never live in the present exactly. You live just behind it in a constructed now. This sliver of delay is invisible to you, hidden by the brain's skill at smoothing. But it is there, proof that time is not given to you directly. It is shaped, edited, and handed back as the illusion of flow. And so, as you drift through your days, remember that time is not something you inhabit, but something you create. The candle burns, the sun rises, the heart beats, and your brain stitches these changes into a story of before and after. That story is your life. Without it, there would be no past, no future, only the ever-changing present. The mirror of time in your mind gives you memory, identity, and hope. It is not absolute, but it is beautiful, and it carries you gently through the shifting seasons of your life. Let us drift deeper into the mirror of time and watch how its surface bends and shimmers in ways both subtle and profound. Imagine walking along a quiet path in autumn. The air is crisp, the leaves brittle under your feet. Each step feels steady, yet the memory you will hold of this walk is not a perfect recording. Your brain will select fragments, perhaps the smell of wood smoke, the golden hue of a single leaf, the sound of crows in the distance. Later, when you recall it, you will not replay the entire experience, but only these fragments stitched together. The missing pieces are filled in by imagination. In this way, memory is not a window onto the past, but a reconstruction, and through it, your sense of time is continually rewritten. Scientists have found that each time you recall an event, the memory becomes fragile like clay warmed by the sun. It can be reshaped, colored by your present mood or belief. Then it is stored again, slightly altered. Over years, memories change, though we feel they are fixed. What you believe happened long ago is partly invention, the product of a brain that values coherence more than accuracy. This soft editing is what gives you a continuous self, a sense of a life lived in order. Without it, your story would be jagged, fractured, incoherent. The mirror of time polishes experience into a smoother reflection, even if the polish hides imperfections. Now think of how attention changes your perception of time. Waiting in a long line, you notice every detail and seconds crawl. But when you are absorbed in a conversation, an hour can vanish in what feels like a blink. The difference lies not in the clock, but in the brain. When attention is broad, recording each small moment, time feels slow. When attention narrows, skipping details, time feels fast. In this way, time is not absolute. It is elastic, stretching and shrinking according to how you attend to life. The mirror shows not the world as it is, but the world as you notice it. Dreams reveal another secret of time. In sleep, whole stories unfold, journeys across cities, conversations with friends, strange adventures. Yet these may last only minutes in real time. The brain, freed from the rhythm of clocks, invents its own tempo. A dream may feel like days or collapse into an instant. This shows that the perception of time is not bound to reality. It is bound to the activity of the brain, the weaving of experience into sequence. Even in waking life, the same freedom exists, though hidden. Moments of crisis stretch out, moments of joy dissolve. The tempo of your life is written inside you, not outside. Culture also shapes the mirror of time. In some traditions, time is seen as circular, like the turning of seasons. In others, it is linear, an arrow pointing forward. These metaphors shape the way people remember and anticipate. Language itself encodes this. Some speak of the past as behind them and the future as ahead, while others reverse this, seeing the future as behind, unseen, and the past as before known. The brain's sense of time bends to these metaphors, reflecting not just biology but culture. You do not only live in personal time, you live in shared time built by language and tradition. The brain does not simply measure time, it creates rhythms to live by. The circadian rhythm, tied to the rising and setting of the sun, guides sleep and wakefulness. Inside your body, countless clocks tick, from the pulsing of neurons to the cycles of hormones. Each rhythm gives order to the flow of life. When these rhythms fall out of sync, as in jet lag, time feels disjointed. Days blur, nights stretch, and the mirror becomes cloudy. Yet when the rhythms realign, clarity returns and time feels smooth again. In this way, the brain's sense of time is not only mental, it is woven into your biology, each cell keeping beat with the whole. Think also of how the brain imagines the future. Planning a journey, preparing a meal, or even deciding what words to speak next all require projecting forward. This projection uses the same circuits as memory, showing how past and future are reflections of each other. You cannot imagine tomorrow without the fragments of yesterday. In this sense, time is a bridge built from memory to possibility. It is not something you move through. It is something you construct, step by step, reflection by reflection. There are moments when the mirror becomes sharper, when time feels crystalline. Standing at the edge of a cliff, heart racing, every detail imprints itself. The color of the rocks, the sound of wind, the pounding of blood, all are stored with precision. This is because the brain in danger floods itself with chemicals that sharpen perception. Time seems to slow, giving you space to act. Yet later, when you recall it, you realize that time did not slow. Your brain simply recorded more, filling the moment with detail. Once again, time is not fixed. It is sculpted by biology, by need, by the silent work of neurons. On the other hand, routine dulls the mirror. A daily commute may blur into nothingness, barely remembered. Days merge, weeks collapse, years slip by. The brain, saving effort, records little when nothing feels new. This is why childhood feels expansive and adulthood compressed. When life is full of novelty, the mirror captures more, stretching the flow. When life is repetitive, the mirror reflects less and time seems to vanish. To make time feel fuller, you must fill it with experience, variety, and wonder. In doing so, you give the brain more fragments to polish, more reflections to weave into memory. Now let us pause and think of the mirror itself. It is not a fixed object, but a living process. Each perception, each memory, each anticipation is a brushstroke on its surface. You carry it everywhere, and in it you see your life reflected back. It is delicate, elastic, imperfect, but it is also what makes you human. The brain's invention of time allows you to tell stories, to learn from the past, to plan for the future, to cherish the fleeting present. Without it, you would live in a blur of moments, disconnected and thin. With it, you live in a world of seasons, of histories, of hopes. The mirror of time is your greatest creation, and though it is an illusion, it is also your truth. Now let us drift to the farthest edge of the mirror, where time becomes less a steady flow and more a mystery. Imagine watching a sunset. The sun sinks slowly, colors deepening, shadows stretching. You feel the passage of minutes, but you are also aware that this is a daily rhythm, repeated countless times. The present moment glows with memory of past evenings and the quiet certainty that tomorrow will bring another. Past, present, and future are woven together, not in the sky, but in your mind. The brain takes the unfolding change and frames it as a sequence. In truth, the world only changes. Time is the name you give that change, the story you weave around it. Think of how memory stitches your life into a narrative. A childhood toy, a first kiss, a journey across a sea. These moments live side by side in your mind, even though they are separated by decades. You can summon them in an instant, collapsing years into a single breath. The brain bends time, folding it like cloth, allowing you to step across its length at will. The illusion of flow is replaced with a tapestry where every thread is accessible. Yet when you return from memory to the present, you believe again in the river of time. The mirror hides its folds, showing you only the steady surface. This folding reveals itself in déjà vu, when a present moment feels strangely familiar. The brain briefly misfires, placing new experience into memory circuits too quickly so that now feels like then. For an instant, time doubles and you glimpse the fragility of the system. Or in jamais vu, when the familiar suddenly feels strange and the flow of recognition falters. These glitches remind you that the experience of time is not fixed in the W. World, it is a reflection, delicate and easily warped. Even perception of the present is not immediate. Signals from your eyes, ears, and skin take time to travel. Your brain waits, gathering them, aligning them before showing you what is happening. This delay is tiny, fractions of a second, but it means you never live in the raw now. You live just behind it in a polished present crafted for coherence. The illusion is seamless, but it is still an illusion. You are always gazing into the mirror, never the thing itself. Consider how time is tied to identity. Who you believe yourself to be is not a single moment, but a continuity, a line stretching from past to future. Yet that line is fragile. For those who lose memory, self fades. Without the thread of time, identity unravels. On the other side, for those who cannot imagine the future, hope collapses and with it, meaning. Your very sense of being is bound to the illusion of time, the reflection that holds together yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Without it, there would be no story, no self, only scattered sparks of experience. Culture adds yet another layer to this invention. Some mark time by the moon, others by the sun, still others by digital clocks that divide the day into seconds. Each system teaches the brain to frame experience differently. For ancient farmers, time was the swelling of rivers, the ripening of fields. For modern lives, time is schedules, deadlines, alarms. Yet beneath all these systems, the brain still does the same quiet work, measuring change, polishing memory, predicting what comes next. Time feels solid because you live inside shared illusions, reinforced by language, ritual, and rhythm. There are rare moments when the mirror shatters and you glimpse timelessness. In meditation, in deep flow, or in awe at the stars, time seems to stop. The boundaries between past and future dissolve, leaving only presence. Neuroscientists suggest that in these states, the brain's circuits for memory and prediction quiet, leaving awareness unmoored. Without stitching events into sequence, the illusion fades and you feel suspended. This suspension is fleeting, for the brain soon resumes its weaving. But it reveals the truth. Time is not a river outside you, it is a current built within. As life moves toward its end, the mirror of time becomes sharper. Elders speak of decades as though they were seasons, whole lifetimes compressed into stories. The brain, with its limited span, folds experience into ever tighter reflections. Yet even as years collapse, memory makes them luminous. A single scent may summon a childhood summer. A song may reopen a long-forgotten love. The mirror becomes smaller, but also brighter, filled with fragments polished smooth by years of recollection. Now pause again at the edge of this thought. The clock on the wall ticks. The body changes, the world turns. But what you feel is time, the flow of seconds, the arc of years, the weight of memory is not outside you. It is an invention, a necessary illusion, a mirror your brain holds up to change. Without it, there would be no story, no continuity, no self. With it, you walk through life as though through a river, carried gently forward, even though the river exists only in your mind. And so the mirror of time reflects not the universe, but you. It shows you who you have been, who you are, who you hope to be. It bends and distorts, yet it is the only mirror you have. Look into it and you see not just the passing of days, but the making of meaning. For in the end, time is not measured by clocks or calendars. It is measured by memory, by love, by the moments you carry with you. The illusion is fragile, but it is also beautiful. And in its gentle reflection, you find the story of your life. Touch is the first sense to awaken in life, and perhaps the last to fade. Before your eyes open, before your ears tune to the world, the skin feels the pressure of existence. Floating in the womb, you brush against walls of warmth, sensing the gentle rhythm of a heartbeat through fluid and flesh. Touch is your oldest companion, the silent fabric that connects you to the world. And yet, like color and sound, touch is not the world itself. It is a story told by your brain, an illusion woven from signals, stitched together until it feels real. The skin seems simple, a surface covering the body, but beneath its quiet appearance lies a vast landscape of sensors. Some detect pressure, others vibration, others heat or cold. A soft breeze and a heavy stone, though different in force, are both translated into tiny electrical pulses. These pulses travel through nerves, climbing the spinal cord, rushing toward the brain. Along the way, they are shaped, edited, prioritized. By the time they reach awareness, the raw world has been transformed into feeling. The silkiness of fabric, the sting of a cut, the comfort of a hug, all are inventions, illusions born in the mind. Think of the strangeness of pi. Pain is not an injury itself, but the brain's interpretation of signals. Two people may feel pain differently from the same wound. Sometimes pain lingers even after the body has healed, as in phantom limb syndrome, where someone who has lost an arm still feels it ache or burn. The brain's map of the body does not vanish with the limb. It continues to project sensation, a ghost of touch. This reveals the truth. Touch is not in the skin alone. It is in the brain's construction, in the internal map of the body. The ghost of a hand can hurt as much as a living one, though no hand is there. Now imagine a feather brushing your cheek. The pressure is faint, the sensation almost too light to notice. Yet the brain amplifies it, giving it clarity. Or think of the warmth of sunlight on your back, spreading slowly like a gentle tide. What you feel is not the heat itself, but your nervous system's translation of it. Sensors in the skin fire in patterns, and the brain turns them into a story of warmth, a sense of comfort or safety. Without this invention, you would live in a blur of meaningless signals. The world would touch you, but you would not feel it. Touch connects you not only to the environment, but to others. The embrace of a parent, the clasp of a hand, the pat on a shoulder, these are more than pressure on the skin. They release oxytocin, slow the heart, ease stress. They tell the body, you are safe, you are not alone. The social meaning of touch transforms it from sensation to emotion. Cultures shape this too. In some, touch is abundant, a constant exchange of closeness. In others, it is rare, reserved, carefully bounded. Yet in all lives, touch remains a thread of connection, a language without words, a poem written on the skin. The illusions of touch reveal themselves in strange ways. Consider the rubber hand experiment, where a person's real hand is hidden and a rubber hand placed before them. When both are stroked at the same time, the brain adopts the fake hand, feeling it as its own. Soon, a threat to the rubber hand makes the person flinch. This shows how the brain does not passively record sensation. It predicts, constructs, and accepts illusions when they make sense. The sense of ownership over the body itself is a story, one that can be altered with a few well-timed strokes. Think also of tools. A blind person using a cane soon feels the world not at the hand, but at the tip of the cane. The brain extends its map, treating the tool as part of the body. You too feel this when using chopsticks or typing on a keyboard. The touch of the outside world travels through the tool, but the brain rewrites the boundary of self, including the tool as though it were skin. In this way, the fabric of touch is not fixed. It can stretch, expand, adapt, pulling the outside world into the illusion of the body. Temperature, too, is a story of touch. Place one hand in cold water, the other in hot, then both in lukewarm water. Each hand tells a different story. One feels warmth, the other chill. The water is the same, but the sensations diverge. The brain interprets signals not in isolation, but in context, constantly comparing, adjusting. The same stimulus can feel different depending on what came before. The fabric of touch is woven not from truth, but from contrast, from the brain's endless balancing of signals. Now close your eyes and imagine your body floating in stillness. You may begin to lose the boundaries of where you end and the air begins. This is because the brain constructs a body map not only from touch, but from constant updates of position, pressure, and weight. In sensory deprivation, that map falters. Some feel as though they are expanding, others as though they are shrinking. Without input, the brain drifts and the illusion of the body dissolves. This reveals again how fragile and malleable touch truly is, how much it depends on the brain's ceaseless work. And yet, fragile as it is, the illusion of touch is essential. It anchors you in space, keeps you from burning on fire or freezing in snow. It comforts you when another's hand rests in yours. It tells you that you are real, that you are here, that the world is near enough to feel. Without it, the world would remain distant, unreachable. With it, the world becomes intimate, pressed against your very being. Touch is not merely a sense, it is a bond, a tether between self and world, self and other, self and self. So as you rest with this thought, imagine the countless touches of your life, the brush of wind, the press of shoes on earth, the softness of fabric, the warmth of those who care for you. Each one is an invention, a pattern of signals woven into sensation. Each one is a ghost of reality brought to life by your brain. The fabric of touch is not absolute, but it is enough. It gives texture to existence, shape to self, connection to others. And though it is illusion, it is also truth, the kind of truth you live by, moment after moment, breath after breath. Let us drift further into the fabric of touch, into the quiet ways it shapes your sense of being. Imagine waking in the morning, your hand brushing against the sheets. The softness is immediate, a signal carried from skin to brain, but softness does not live in the sheets. It is the brain's interpretation of pressure spread across many receptors, a pattern stitched into a single feeling. If the same sheets were brushed with fingertips made numb by cold, the sensation would vanish. The fabric would be unchanged, yet the softness gone. Touch, like color and sound, is not a property of the world, but a creation of your nervous system. Think of the complexity hidden within every touch. On the surface of your skin are tiny receptors tuned to different qualities. Some respond to slow, steady pressure, telling you of weight. Others fire at the faintest vibration, alerting you to texture. Some sense stretch, mapping the position of joints. Others respond only to sudden changes like a tap or a flick. When you run your hand across bark or silk, all of these receptors fire in intricate patterns, yet you do not feel fragments. You feel wholeness, the roughness of bark, the smoothness of silk. This is the miracle of the brain. It takes countless signals and weaves them into a single experience. The fabric of touch is seamless because your mind is its tailor. Now imagine pain again, but from another angle. Pain is often seen as an enemy, but it is also a protector. It warns you of harm, makes you withdraw from danger, forces you to rest and heal. Yet it is also unreliable. Sometimes pain arises without injury, as in chronic pain conditions, where the nervous system amplifies its own signals until the illusion of suffering persists even in health. At other times, pain vanishes when it should not. Soldiers in battle sometimes report feeling nothing from wounds until danger has passed. The brain controls not only what you feel, but when you feel it, bending sensation to match survival's demands. The ghosts of pain are as real as the wounds themselves. Consider also the curious pleasure of certain touches. A slow stroke along the arm at just the right speed activates special fibers that connect directly to brain regions tied to emotion. These fibers carry not information about pressure or texture, but about comfort and connection. They tell you you are safe, you are cared for. This is why a hug can calm, why a gentle hand can soothe grief. Touch is not only physical, it is emotional, social, and deeply human. Without it, the mind suffers. Infants deprived of touch grow weak. Adults isolated from it feel lonely. The body craves contact, not for the skin alone, but for the heart. The brain's illusions of touch can be tricked in playful ways. Cross your hands and place them under a board while looking at rubber hands above. When the rubber hands are stroked in sync, you may begin to feel the touch where none occurs. Virtual reality can do the same, fooling your senses into feeling presence in a digital world. These illusions reveal that the boundaries of the body are not fixed. The brain decides what belongs to you, and it can be persuaded to expand or shift that boundary. The sense of self is woven from touch, and the weave is more flexible than you might believe. Tools provide another window into this flexibility. A violinist, after years of practice, feels the instrument as part of the body. The strings vibrate, the bow glides, and the brain interprets it as extension of hand and arm. A surgeon feels through the tip of a scalpel. A writer feels through the nib of a pen. These are not separate objects, but adopted limbs woven into the map of self. The brain incorporates them seamlessly, as though the skin has stretched to hold them. Touch does not end at the body's edge. It reaches outward, drawing the world into the self. Temperature too carries illusions. Place your hand on a metal surface and it feels colder than wood at the same temperature. The difference lies not in the objects, but in their ability to draw heat from your skin. The brain interprets that loss as coldness, a perception built on relative change rather than absolute measure. You feel not the truth of temperature, but the story the nervous system tells. And yet that story is enough. It keeps you from frostbite, from burns, from harm. The illusion, though imperfect, is life-saving. Touch is also bound to memory. The texture of a childhood blanket, the warmth of a grandparent's hand, the sting of icy water, these linger long after the sensations themselves are gone. A single brush of fabric can bring back a flood of recollection, carrying you to another place and time. Just as sound becomes music of memory, touch becomes texture of remembrance. It anchors your story in the body, reminding you that you are not only a mind, but a creature of skin and sensation. Now close your eyes and think of absence. What if touch were taken away? Imagine a world where your skin felt nothing. No pressure, no warmth, no pain. You could not hold a cup, walk with balance, or even feel your own breath. Without touch, the world becomes distant, unreachable. The illusion of self collapses, for the brain's body map requires constant input to remain alive. People who lose the sense of touch through illness often describe the body as ghostly, present yet unreachable. It is touch that grounds you, that reminds you that you exist in space, that you are part of the world. And so, as you rest with this thought, you realize that touch is not only about the outer world pressing upon you. It is about the brain pressing back, inventing texture, warmth, comfort, and even pain. The skin is only a canvas. The true fabric of touch is woven in the nervous system, embroidered by memory and emotion, stitched into the sense of self. It is an illusion, yes, but an illusion that gives you body, belonging, and life. Now let us move toward the quiet resolution of touch, into the soft ghosts it leaves behind. Imagine someone who has lost a limb yet still feels its presence. Their hand may itch though no hand remains. Their fingers may curl in pain though they are gone. This is the phantom limb, a vivid reminder that sensation is not tied only to flesh but to the brain's enduring map of the body. The brain refuses to erase what was once there. It continues to project sensation into the emptiness, filling absence with presence. In this way, touch becomes a ghost story, one told not by spirits but by neurons. Even those who have never lost a limb can feel these spectral touches. Rest your arm on a table until it falls asleep, and you will feel tingling, numbness, strange vibrations. These are not real contacts from the world, but signals gone astray, misfires of nerves deprived of flow. The brain, searching for meaning, interprets them as sensation. Or recall the sudden feeling of being touched when no one is there, a shiver across the skin, a brush on the shoulder in solitude. These moments reveal that the fabric of touch is always a mixture of reality and invention, a weave so tight that the threads blur. Consider also how the brain can summon touch without stimulus. In dreams, you may feel yourself walking barefoot on sand, the grains slipping underfoot. You may feel the grip of another's hand or the heat of fire. None of these sensations enter from the outside. They are born wholly within, drawn from memory and imagination. Dream touch feels real because the same neural circuits fire as when the skin is engaged. In this way, the ghosts of touch are not errors but extensions. The brain keeps touch alive even in silence. There are times when the brain quiets touch, erasing it from awareness. You wear clothes all day, yet rarely feel them pressing against your skin. The constant contact is edited away, leaving only novelty to enter awareness. But if the tag of a shirt scratches, or if a sudden breeze chills your arm, sensation returns vividly. The brain filters the fabric of touch, deciding what matters and what does not. Without this filtering, life would be overwhelming, a storm of constant pressure. With it, you feel only what is needed, and the rest drifts into ghostly background. The ghosts of touch extend to tools as well. A cane held in the hand becomes an extension of the body, and the tip feels alive with sensation. A musician's bow, a craftsman's chisel, a potter's wheel, all become part of the body's illusion, adopted into the brain's map. When these tools are gone, the absence is felt as though something missing from the self. The body's boundaries are not fixed lines but shifting horizons, redrawn by use and memory. The fabric of touch stretches outward, and its ghosts linger when the stretch is undone. Now think of healing, of the gentle touches that soothe. A hand laid on a fevered brow, a parent rocking a child, a friend's embracing grief. These are not mere pressures. They are signals carried through nerves into regions of the brain tied to safety and trust. The body calms, the heart slows, stress eases. In these moments, the illusion of touch becomes medicine, restoring balance to mind and body alike. Even when the touch is remembered, the effect can return. To recall a comforting embrace is to feel again its warmth, a ghost of sensation strong enough to heal. Pain, too, can be haunted. Chronic pain may linger after injuries have healed, the nervous system locked into patterns of suffering. Scientists believe the brain's map of the body can become overactive, amplifying signals until the illusion of pain persists without cause. Treatments often aim not only at the body but at the brain itself, retraining it to redraw the map. The fabric of touch, once tangled, must be rewoven. This shows how deeply sensation depends on perception, how much the brain's illusions can shape the body's truth. Now imagine the absence of all touch, float in a sensory deprivation tank where water supports you at body temperature and darkness surrounds. At first you feel weightless calm, but soon the brain begins to invent, tingling skin, drifting shapes, phantom touches. Deprived of input, the brain refuses emptiness. It fills the silence with sensation, weaving ghosts to remind you that you exist. This is the essence of the fabric of touch. It cannot be unwoven even when the world grows still. In the end, touch is more than contact. It is a conversation between world and mind, filtered, shaped, and made meaningful. The breeze against your face, the clasp of a hand, the burn of fire, the phantom of a missing limb, all are part of the same illusion. The brain takes pressure, vibration, and heat and spins them into stories of comfort, pain, and connection. The ghosts are as real as the flesh because both are born of the same invention. What you call touch is not the world pressing into you. It is you pressing meaning into the world. And so, as this reflection closes, let yourself feel the weight of your body resting where you are. Notice the pressure, the warmth, the small shifts. These are not simple facts of the world. They are the creations of your brain woven into a seamless fabric. Ghosts and truths together, they remind you that you are alive, embodied, connected. The fabric of touch is fragile, elastic, and endlessly inventive. It is illusion, but it is also life. And in its quiet weave, you find both the edges of the self and the soft threads that tie you to everything around you. Dreaming is the theater of the self, a place where you drift each night into worlds both strange and familiar. In dreams, you walk through landscapes that never were, speak to people long gone, and feel emotions as vivid as waking life. Yet all of it is woven inside your brain, a performance without stage or audience. The dreaming self believes it is awake, believes it is moving, touching, speaking, though the body lies still in silence. In this way, you live two lives, one in daylight, one in night, both born from the same mind. And sometimes it is hard to tell which is more real. Sleep begins gently with the slowing of breath and the soft surrender of muscles. The brain does not fall silent, it shifts into new rhythms. Waves of activity roll across its surface, first slow and heavy, then lighter until rapid eye movement begins. REM sleep is the stage of vivid dreams, when the eyes dart beneath closed lids, following the motions of imagined worlds. During this stage, the brain is nearly as active as when awake, yet the body is paralyzed, kept still by design. Without this paralysis, you would act out your dreams, running and leaping as though the world inside were true. Instead, you lie safely, traveling inward while the body rests. Dreams are not random flickers. They are stitched from memory, emotion, and imagination. A fragment of yesterday blends with an echo from childhood. A face seen once in a crowd reappears, speaking lines it never spoke. The brain takes pieces from its storehouse and reweaves them into new stories. Scientists believe this weaving helps consolidate memory, turning fragile impressions into lasting knowledge. Yet the process feels less like work and more like poetry, a nightly tale told without script. You awake with the residue, sometimes clear, sometimes fading like mist, but always evidence that your mind has been busy writing. The dreaming self does not question. You may find yourself flying or breathing underwater or stepping into a city of impossible towers. And in the dream, it feels natural, unquestioned. This is because the regions of the brain tied to logic and critical thought grow quieter during sleep. The dreaming self accepts, adapts, and continues, moving through impossible worlds as though they were ordinary. Only upon waking do you realize the strangeness, but in the moment you believe. The self inside the dream lives with the same certainty as the self in waking life. Consider the emotions of dreams. A nightmare can leave the body trembling, heart racing, sweat on the skin, though no threat was real. A joyful dream can fill the day with quiet warmth, the echo of laughter that never happened. The brain's emotional centers are highly active during dreaming, sometimes even more so than when awake. This is why dreams feel so powerful, so consuming. They bypass logic and speak directly to feeling, shaping mood and memory long after you open your eyes. Animals too seem to dream. A dog twitches its paws in sleep as though running. A cat's whiskers tremble as though hunting. Rats trained to navigate a maze show similar patterns of brain activity while sleeping, as if replaying the journey. Dreaming may be a universal feature of brains, a way to rehearse, to learn, to remember. If this is true, then the dreaming self is not uniquely human. It is part of the shared experience of life, a hidden current running through the nights of countless creatures. There are dreams that feel more than dreams, lucid dreams in which you realize you are dreaming. In these moments, the dreaming self gains a kind of awareness, able to choose to fly deliberately to explore. Lucid dreaming is rare but real, showing that even within sleep, consciousness is layered. One self believes wholly in the dream, while another whispers, "This is illusion." The boundary between waking and dreaming blurs, and you glimpse the strange truth. Both are constructions, both are stories, both are inventions of the brain. Now imagine the dreaming self as a mirror of the waking self. In waking life, you believe in a solid world of color, sound, and touch. Yet we have seen how these are illusions, inventions of the mind. In dreams, the same brain weaves worlds with equal conviction. The difference is not in the quality of the illusion, but in the source of the signals. Waking uses light, vibration, pressure. Dreaming uses memory, imagination, fragments of experience. Both become real to the self that lives them. This is why some traditions call waking life a dream, and dreams another kind of waking. Both are illusions, both are lives. So as you drift towards sleep, remember that another self waits, ready to rise when the body grows still. This self will walk through new worlds, carrying pieces of you but not the whole. It will feel, it will act, it will live, though you will not remember every step. And when morning comes, you will return, carrying fragments of that other life like shells from the shore. The dreaming self never truly wakes, for it is always there, waiting beneath, ready to bloom when the night closes your eyes. And in its illusions, you may find not only strangeness, but also truth, the truth that the mind itself is the greatest of dreamers. Let us drift deeper into the dream, into the layers where memory, imagination, and self dissolve into one another. Imagine lying in bed, the room quiet, your breathing steady. Slowly, your thoughts begin to loosen. They no longer march in order but wander, drifting into images that form and dissolve. A face appears, a voice speaks, a scene takes shape. You do not choose these things, they arrive, rising from the deep. This is the threshold of dreaming, where the waking self releases control and the dreaming self begins to weave. At first, fragments flicker like sparks in the dark. Then the sparks gather, and a story begins, carrying you into a world that feels whole. In these worlds, the brain acts like a painter without limits. It can conjure mountains of impossible height, oceans that glow with light, cities that float in air. The rules of physics may bend, yet the dreaming self accepts them. You run across a sky bridge made of glass, or breathe underwater, or step into a room where the walls pulse like a heartbeat. None of it surprises you, because the part of the brain that questions, that doubts, is resting. Dreams are immersive because they bypass the critic, leaving only the believer. Every detail feels authentic, because belief itself is the fabric of experience. But dreams are not built from nothing. They borrow from the storehouse of memory. You may dream of a place you have never been, yet it feels familiar, because it is woven from fragments of places you know. One street here, one building there, blended into something new. Faces appear, some of strangers, some of loved ones, some of people half remembered. Neuroscientists suggest that the brain replays fragments of recent experience, consolidating them, filing them away. Dreams are the workshop of memory, but to you, they feel like adventure, like story. What the brain does for survival, you live as drama. Dreams also serve emotion. They often carry the mood of your day, the echoes of stress, joy, or longing. A worry you buried in daylight rises in the night, playing itself out in symbolic scenes. A desire you could not name blooms as image. A grief you tried to silence finds voice in dreams. The dreaming self is honest, if indirect. It brings to light what the waking self cannot hold, transforming feelings into landscapes and stories. This is why some dreams soothe, others haunt, and others leave you puzzled but changed. They are the emotional language of the brain, written in metaphor instead of words. There are dreams of falling, dreams of flying, dreams of being chased. These are nearly universal, shared across cultures and ages. Some say they reflect primal fears and desires, the deep currents of evolution. Others say they are simply the brain rehearsing danger, practicing survival in safe spaces. Whatever their origin, they remind you that the dreaming self is ancient, connected to instincts far older than reason. To dream is not only to imagine, it is to rehearse, to prepare, to embody the lessons of countless generations. Lucid dreams add another layer, when the dreaming self suddenly awakens within its own illusion. In these moments, you realize, I am dreaming. With that realization, control blossoms. You can choose to fly, to step through walls, to shape the story. Scientists have found that in lucid dreams, the brain regions tied to self-awareness become active again, overlapping waking and dreaming. This rare overlap shows how thin the boundary truly is. You can be both dreamer and dreamt, both author and character within the same moment. The self is not fixed but layered, like veils drifting in light. Even waking life holds traces of the dreaming self. Daydreams are one example, when the mind drifts from the present into imagined scenes. These are softer than night dreams, but they show the same process, memory and imagination weaving together. In daydreams, you rehearse conversations, imagine futures, relive the past. You are awake, yet part of you is already dreaming. The boundary blurs. It may be that the dreaming self never fully sleeps, always present beneath the surface, coloring perception, shaping thought. The brain also carries dreams into waking through hypnopompic and hypnagogic states, those moments just before sleep and just after waking. In these states, images flash, voices murmur, shapes appear. They feel dreamlike yet intrude upon waking life, reminding you again that the two worlds are not separate but overlapping. The self moves fluidly between them, sometimes confused, sometimes enchanted. You may wake with the memory of a vivid voice still echoing, or drift into sleep with half-formed visions already alive. These are the edges of dreaming, where illusion and reality touch. Now let us think of the role of dreaming across cultures. Some traditions see dreams as messages, guidance from ancestors or gods. Others see them as reflections of the unconscious, symbols of hidden desire. In modern science, they are studied as mechanisms of memory and emotion. Yet across time and place, one truth remains: dreams matter. They shape belief, decision, and art. They inspire songs and paintings, poems and prophecies. The dreaming self has influenced the waking world more than we know, leaving traces of its illusions in every culture. And so the dreaming self is not merely a shadow of waking. It is a second life running parallel, filled with meaning. You spend nearly a third of your existence in this state, walking through imagined worlds as though they were real. And in many ways they are. The emotions are real, the memories shaped by them endure, the creativity they spark flows into waking life. Dreams may be illusions, but they are powerful ones, enriching and guiding the story of your life. As you rest with this thought, you realize that the dreaming self is never far. It lingers even now, shaping imagination, stirring memory, coloring your sense of the possible. Whether asleep or awake, you are always both dreamer and dreamt, living in the illusions your brain creates. The dreaming self never truly sleeps. It waits, always ready, always weaving, always inventing the world you live in. Now let us wander into the final reflection of dreaming, where the self dissolves and yet endures. Picture yourself asleep, body resting quietly, while inside the mind a second world unfolds. You walk through streets of light or climb mountains that vanish as you touch them. You feel joy, fear, longing, peace. In that world, you are as real as in this one. The dreaming self laughs and weeps, runs and falls, loves and mourns. And when morning comes, much of it fades like mist, yet some fragments remain, glimmering with the power to change you. This is the paradox of dreaming, fleeting in memory but lasting in influence. Dreams have shaped the course of history. Scientists have woken with solutions sparked by dreams, artists with visions, writers with stories. A melody heard in sleep becomes a symphony, an image seen in slumber becomes a painting. The dreaming self is creative, unfettered by reason or convention. It explores combinations the waking self would never allow. From this fertile chaos, insight blooms. In this sense, dreams are not idle illusions. They are engines of invention, their ghosts walking into the daylight to guide the waking world. Yet dreams also serve the quiet work of the mind. They sift through memory, deciding what to keep, what to let fade. They weave emotion into story, giving meaning to experiences too tangled for daylight thought. They rehearse dangers, test possibilities, soothe wounds. In this way, the dreaming self is both poet and healer, crafting illusions that steady the mind. Even nightmares, dark as they feel, may serve this purpose, helping the brain to process fear, to prepare, to release what haunts it. Every dream, bright or shadowed, is part of this hidden labor. The line between waking and dreaming is thinner than it seems. Consider how waking life itself can feel dreamlike. Memories fade, change, and are reimagined. Perceptions are inventions, shaped by the brain as much as by the world, just as in dreams you believe what is presented to you, rarely questioning its truth. The difference is not in the process but in the source of input. Waking uses the senses, dreaming uses memory and imagination. Both are illusions, but both feel real. To live is to dream, whether eyes are open or closed. Some traditions speak of life as a dream from which we never fully wake. In this view, the dreaming self is not separate but continuous. Day and night are two chapters of the same story, written by the same mind. Consciousness drifts between them, carrying fragments back and forth. A dream influences a decision, a waking event reappears in sleep. The border is porous, blurred. You are always both, the one who walks in the sunlight and the one who drifts through imagined skies. The dreaming self never ends, for it is not confined to sleep alone. It is the constant dream of being. Even death has been compared to sleep, a final surrender into silence. Perhaps this is why dreams hold such power. They remind you that consciousness is fragile, shifting, fleeting. Yet they also show that within that fragility lies endless creativity. Each night, the mind builds a world, populates it, and lets you live inside it. If you can create entire universes in slumber, what does that say about the waking one you believe in now? Could it too be a dream of the brain, a greater illusion you share with others? The dreaming self whispers this question, though no answer comes. The answer may not matter. What matters is the experience of living inside the dream. Now think of the tenderness of dreaming. A lost loved one returns in sleep and you embrace them once more. A place from childhood opens again and you walk its paths. These moments are not real in the waking sense, yet they bring comfort, grief, or joy as though they were. The dreaming self gives you gifts impossible in daylight, a reunion, a flight, a return. Illusions, yes, but illusions with the power to heal. The self in dreams carries truths the waking self cannot reach. As the night passes, you move through cycles, dream after dream, story after story. Some vanish before you wake, some linger, some shape you subtly for years. The self in dreams rises and falls, but it never truly disappears. It waits for the next night, the next closing of eyes, the next chance to weave. And even as you walk through daylight, it hums quietly beneath, feeding imagination, coloring thought, whispering to you in symbols and images. The dreaming self is not gone, it is only hidden, like stars veiled by the sun. So let this reflection close with a gentle truth. You are both the dreamer and the dream. The waking self and the dreaming self are not two, but one, living in different lights. Illusion carries you in both states, painting reality with invention. In dreams, you see this invention clearly, marveling at its strangeness. In waking, you forget, believing in solidity. But both are the same miracle, the brain creating a world and the self living inside it. The dreaming self never wakes because waking too is a dream. And in that endless dream, you find not only illusion, but the meaning of being alive.